Hi, in this video we'll talk about some key aspects about artboards in Photoshop CC. What are artboards and what do they do? You can think of artboards like another type of group in the Layers panel. They're useful when you want to design several versions of the same concept within one document and you want to see them side by side. An example would be this. You have your design, but you're unsure about the color scheme. No problem. Create several versions with artboards, put them side by side, and easily decide which looks best. Artboards are also great when you want to create multiple screens from the same project. For our web design work, this means that instead of having 5 PSD files like Home, About Us, Portfolio, Services, Contact Us, you'll have just one PSD that contains 5 artboards. And I gave a conservative example. Think about a project with 50 pages. This makes it easy to change your font family or a particular design element because you don't have to reopen all those projects separately. The last advantage of using artboards is being able to create several versions of the same design, desktop, tablet, and mobile. That's really helpful if you're creating a responsive website. How do you create an artboard and how do you get rid of them? You can create an artboard anytime. When you start a new project, if you select Web or Mobile App Design, you'll have various presets. All of these come with artboards by default. So when I hit OK, you'll see my canvas now looks like this. How can you tell you have an artboard in your project? Well, you can see its name in the top left on the canvas, but you can also see it in your Layers panel. Let me create a folder so you can compare how they look. They're different from one another, so there's no confusing them. In case you're in a regular project with no artboards, you can use the special tool for it from the left panel. Select it and drag anywhere on the canvas. Now you have an artboard. You can right-click on any layer or group in the Layers panel and create an artboard from it. It's as easy as that, so don't worry about setting them right from the get-go. To get rid of an artboard, you need to right-click it in the Layers panel and hit Ungroup Artboard. Now you're back in the regular version. If you have several artboards, you can also click on their name in the Layers panel and press the Delete key. But this one works only if you have more than one. How do you make more of them? Once you're in the artboard mode and you have one selected, you can click on any of these plus symbols on the canvas and you'll get a new one with those specific dimensions. Note it doesn't copy its contents, just the size. If you want to create a perfect replica, hold down Alt while you click on the plus symbol. Your canvas is infinite, so you can expand in any direction. You can use this tool to create additional ones as well. Just click it, select your desired size from the drop-down and click anywhere on your canvas. There you go. How do you adjust them? First, you have to select an artboard to edit it. You can click on its name from the canvas while on the Move tool. You can tell it's active because these handles and the plus symbols appear. And those handles are the key here. Use them to resize it as much as you want. If you want precision, you can use either this area here and input certain values, or the Properties panel here, which does the same thing. You can also use either of these two drop-downs to resize it to a specific size, for example, iPhone 6 Plus. If you overlap it with another one, just drag it to a new position. Your Artboard tool shares the same hotkey with the Move tool, and it quickly reverts back to it when you click in a certain way. It's like Photoshop knows you want to use the Move tool, not the Artboard tool. Now, let's jump into various tips and bits of information about them. If you want to see if you're using artboards, you can do this. While on the Move tool, right-click on an empty space on the canvas and change your color to something else, say light grey. Now, if we create a new document with no artboards, you'll see its background is the default one, nearly black. This is how you can easily see what's what. If you're working on a mobile app, you probably want to switch your artboard orientation from portrait to landscape and vice versa. Do that by clicking on these two buttons. It immediately changes their layout. To quickly align artboards, select a few and use these alignment tools. This will come in handy if you have lots of screens. Speaking of alignment tools, you may remember I previously mentioned if you have a layer inside an artboard, you immediately get access to this region. Click on Left Align Edges and your element will move on the left-hand side of the artboard. Good stuff. Considering you'll use this new tool to cut down your number of PSD files, you can expect to have a humongous Layers panel. To help you focus on what you're working on, you can filter out all the other layers except the ones from your active artboard. Change this from kind to artboard, and now as I select various ones from the screen, my layers panel changes. It's only showing me those layers. Great stuff. When you're designing inside an artboard, you'll see its edges will act like a clipping mask. So if I draw a rectangle that's too wide for it, that won't be a problem as the excess is hidden. That is super useful. One thing to note is if you create a layer outside an artboard, that's where Photoshop will place it in the Layers panel, above all the rest. See here, it's not inside any of them. But if you move it above an artboard, it will move it inside as the first layer. As you can see, it changes positions in the Layers panel as I move it on the canvas. If you want to prevent that, select any artboard in the Layers panel and hit this button. Now I'll create another rectangle outside any artboard. Now I'll move it above it. Nothing happens, and that's exactly what we wanted. You can still add layers to your artboard by moving them in the Layers panel, so it's not like you're locked out, but this feature might come in handy. Regarding guides, make sure you have your rulers active. If not, use Ctrl-R. Since your screens might be different, when you drag out a guide, that will be specific to that artboard. Let me drag a few. And now as I move my artboard, the guides follow suit. When you move to another one, those you previously set are temporarily hidden. If you want to see them, open your preferences with Ctrl-K. Go to Guides, Grid and Slices. From here, check Show Inactive Artboard Guides. I recommend you switch the colour to green so you can better see them. Great, now you can see both the active ones from your current artboard and the inactive ones. I'd advise against it though, so take my word and deactivate this feature. If you want to use the old global guides, you can still do that, just have no artboard selected or any layer inside an artboard. You can click on an empty area in the Layers panel. Now, if you drag, you'll recognise this is a global guide that's independent. In case you're having trouble deselecting everything, you can always leave one stray rectangle outside your artboards. Use Ctrl-Click to select it, and now you can drag out your guides. And that's it. Now, let me give you 3 last points and we're done. 1. Do I use artboards in my web design projects? The answer is no. I only use them when I'm designing an Android app and only if it will have over 5 screens. 2. Why not use them? Well, some developers are still stuck with Photoshop CS6, which doesn't have artboards, so when you send the PSD over, they'll have issues with it. Here's one project in Photoshop CC, and now here it is opened in CS6. So it's not ideal. 3. Any major drawbacks? Yes, it seems your PSD size will increase dramatically sometimes. You'll soon understand what's what, but as an idea, this first PSD has nearly 2 GB, while if I saved everything separately like I was working in CS6, all these files combined have 600 MB, so artboards might increase your project size. Okay, recreate all my steps from this video. You have all the files attached. Have fun!